Good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Celtic take on Hibernian at Celtic Park today, but who starts the game? That's the big question. That is the big question. Who starts the game today? Brendan Rodgers is expected to make quite a few changes. But before that, just say good morning to Steve Johnson, Willie, and a few others that are in the chat. We need to speak about one thing that happened yesterday. The ongoing situation between Celtic and the Green Brigade. Yep. Celtic Green Brigade yesterday got a letter from Celtic saying good afternoon. Thank you for your request through the fans liaison officer function to display a tiffy at the club against Hibernian at Celtic Park on May the 10th. As the club banner protocol makes it clear, everyone at the club recognises that all Celtic fans play a vital part in ensuring the success of Celtic, which is why the club continues to encourage our supporters to bring banners and flags which support the team. Otherwise, to celebrate Celtic. This is also why the club developed the banner protocol regarding the use of banners and organised displays. Unfortunately, following the club's review of the events and relevant processes from earlier in this season, it's concluded that therefore there has been serious breaches of the banner protocol by the group, and the club does not approve the request to set up the display of a tifo at tomorrow's match. The club therefore requests that the group does not bring any The tifos are made inside the ground. This is what I don't get what's going on with Celtic. The tifos are made in the stadium. Do you know? So they've allowed the guys to come in and make the banner in the stadium. They're not made somewhere else. You know, they're made in the back area of the stadium. We've seen videos of them doing it. And I think this is why the Green Brigade are questioning what's going on. And you know, there's time and money went into making the tifo. And then for the club to turn around at the last minute. The club's playing a very dangerous game, if you ask me. You can say what you want about the Green Brigade, but the fact that this time and money went into this in the stadium, in the footprint of the building. That's my main issue with what's going on. Anyway, it goes on to say that the club requested that the group complies with the club regulations and protocols and safety and competition regulations at the match, including the prohibition. Fuck it. I'm hungover again today. I can't do drinking 2 days in a row. The club remains open to scheduling a meeting to discuss these matters at a future time. They haven't met the Green Brigade since before Christmas, and the Green Brigade have asked on many occasions. The Green Brigade have asked on umpteen occasions to have a meeting with the group. Unfortunately, the club refused tomorrow's North Cove tifo. This is the continued sanction due to the Green Brigade's red card and Bick McFarlane tifos. Despite repeated attempts, the club has refused to meet with the Green Brigade since November 2023. They haven't met with them since November 2023. It's interesting, because there used to be a time that they would have a monthly meeting. They would have a monthly meeting with the group. I need to ask someone that, actually. I will ask that question to someone, but he's no longer involved, so interesting. But it just shows you that not all is well between Celtic and its supporters once again. Anyway, we move on. We will know a lot of club die says it's going to be 2-1 today. I never knew the tifos got made inside the stadium. Good information, guys. Yeah, they do. They get made in the foyer bits where all the snack stands are. They get made in there, and the club have let them do them in there for years. So, but there you go. It's interesting. The Game of Grace must show up early to make those tifos. They make them. They're in the stadium days before. They don't make them on the day. Those big banners the guys are in the stadium making those tifos days before, and this is why I find it strange. There's obviously something going on between the club and the Green Brigade and the current members of the Green Brigade. But But it is what it is. We move on. We'll take that down and we'll chat for another day, because today we go back to Celtic Park as 55 times Scottish champions. Yep, today we take on Hibernian at Celtic Park. 3 o'clock kickoff. It's going to be a full house. Paul Baird says the board going hand in hand with Police Scotland against the Green Brigade. Yeah, they are. It's funny that they've got an yeah, let's just keep on talking about that now, because when you think back when what happened to the Green Brigade the day of the Derby game at Celtic Park, when before the Green Brigade even managed to leave the area of the Celtic Supporters Club down on London Road, they were kettled by police and stopped going to the game, and they were kept there for 2 hours. It's very sinister. It's very sinister, I think. And over the years, what I will say, over the years, Celtic have been in collusion with the police regarding the Green Brigade. And people that were involved at the time know it. They knew it. The police told them. Celtic deny it. But people within the club let things slip. And Ronnie Hawthorne, well, we all know what he's like. Love the Green Brigade. I'm too old for that. Carry on now, mind. Yeah, I'm too old for it as well. But I'd gladly take a ticket back in Mould section 111 if everyone's got a spare one. Jay Johnson says it's going to be 4-2 today. I don't think it's going to be a 4-2 game. I think Hibs have got far too much to play for at this stage of the season. Interesting news coming out about an ex-Celtic manager, Neil Lennon. Dunfermline have come out and said that they want to try and keep Neil Lennon for next season, which I think is fantastic for Neil. When we look at Hibernian and the table, obviously Celtic are the champions, sitting on 85 points, 80 goals to the good. 80 goals to the good. Hibernian sitting in third place on 56 points. Aberdeen sitting on 53. How the mighty have fallen, eh? How the mighty have fallen. From running Celtic so long, the mighty Aberdeen, the Northern Lights went out around about Christmas time, and it's pushed them down into 4th position. I really thought that Aberdeen could have... I really hoped that Aberdeen would keep on pushing and keep Sevco out of that second spot. But it wasn't to be. Dundee United are down in 5th position on 50 points. St Mirren are in 6th position on 45 points. And then this gets to the hate bit of the season I don't like. 7th place is Motherwell on 45 points also. Hearts of Midlothian, 43 points. Kilmarnock, 41 points. I think that those 3 teams will finish point tally, more than St Mirren, which takes hundreds of thousands of pounds out the pockets of the club, but it is what it is, and the SPFL have wanted to keep the status quo. Who cares about the bottom half of the league? St Johnstone looks as if they'll be the club that are definitely going to go down. 2 games remaining, they are relegation certains. And then it comes down to Ross County and Dundee. Looks like they'll be sort of around about the playoff places. Personally, I know that folk don't like the trip up to Ross County. I think it's a fantastic trip up. It's a great away day. So it is a great away day. Just because you're on the bus for ages and you get swally. But it is what it is. You've got Falkirk coming in. So it's the Central Belt focus again. If Ross County do go down, it looks like Ross County, there's a potential they will go down. But it's another club in the Central Belt, which is fine and it's good for buses getting away to, but Falkirk Stadium's not the best, is it? It's not the best. But anyway, that's for next season. Gus says, may I ask the Celtic family to keep their fingers crossed, please? I found a lump down below, and hoping there's nothing. Sorry for asking. Gus, not at all. I hope that it's okay. And hopefully they can get it. They can cut it out easy enough these days. After we crushed Aberdeen in the cup game, they imploded, said Jason Lee. Yeah, they did that. Stephen Johnson said the same. Aberdeen lost it when we battered them 6-0, mate. Yeah, they just never recovered from that, did they? Let's just hope that doesn't come back to beat us, bite us on the bum. Because maybe Aberdeen, come the final, Aberdeen have still got that semi-final thinking in their memory, and they're like, we're not letting Celtic do that to us again. We're not letting Celtic do that to us again, and it could come back to bite us on the bum in the final. Hopefully Celtic still go on and win it and win the treble, but it's not going to be an easy game. Everyone's saying it's going to be an easy game. I don't think it will be. This manager, Jimmy up in Aberdeen, he's got a chance to make him a right good name for himself, and the fact that he had Aberdeen pushing Celtic the first half of the season, but anyway, that's a couple of weeks away, 16 days or something, isn't it? So the game today, I noticed that after the interview yesterday with Brendan Rodgers, I noticed that some of the Celtic fan media, are saying that Celtic plan to open contract extension talks with Rio Hatate. That's not what the manager said. But he did say that Nicholson and Cole would be in talk with their agents this summer. We all know that Rio Hatate is going to go. It's one of the biggest, worst secrets at Celtic, I think. Anyway, Celtic Champions League status ahead of the August playoff and possible opponents. This is going to be an interesting one. It was confirmed late last year, obviously 2024-25, the Scottish champions would not automatically qualify for the Champions League in 25-26 season because Scotland dropped out the top 10 UEFA coefficients ranking after being leapfrogged by the Czech Republic. That great footballing nation. Dynamo Zagreb. Oh no. Bobo Glint. FC Copenhagen are just some of the possible opponents that Celtic will have to face on the game of the 19th, 20th, 26th, 27th of August this year. By then, the transfer window will be just be about to slam shut. Hopefully Celtic will understand that they need to get in as many players as possible. But that just shows you some of the teams that we could face. Dynamo Zagreb, Bobo Glint and Copenhagen. Bodo Glint. Again. Jesus. Anyway. We shouldn't fear anyone in the Champions League qualifier. The Duck Soup Express. I understand what you're saying, but I've got a fear for this summer. I do have a fear for this summer because Brendan Rodgers going into the last year of his contract, and if Celtic know that Brendan's going to walk after the third year, and if they even think that he's going to walk after the third year, why are you going to give him a shitload of cash to spend this year? I think that they'll get in the players that they need when a player leaves. I think that Celtic's going to play the guys upstairs are going to play one of those stupid games this summer. It's like, we'll wait, when a player leaves, we'll buy a player in. And that'll be the scenario, and we'll be left running about the later end of the transfer window trying to get players in. As Jason Lee says, if we fail to qualify for the Champions League, does that mean that we automatically get into the Europa League? I think so, yes. But you don't want to, because that then, say Rangers, they go in at the same stage. If they get into the Champions League, I still say that they're only 2 seasons away in the Champions League to having a complete flip side financially. But and who cares about them? It is all about Celtic today and the team. I'm not even going to try and talk about the what players I think may come on today. It's going to be a case of we'll wait till an hour and a half before kick-off and see what Brendan Rodgers has decided to do today. Baz, shush, don't bring up the impending bloodbath this summer's transfers could be. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's thinking about it then, because we've never fared too well when we go into a summer like this and we have to qualify for the Champions League and we know how many players we need, but the way that the Celtic board go, is there any money in the Europa League? Well, Rangers only made something like 8 million. Celtic have made 40 odd. They made 30 million just off of the league phase. So, I mean, 8 million from 30 million. The club then sells Dyson Maeda for 15 million, 25 million. They then says Real Hatate for 15 million to make up the cash deficit. And then we bring it. I don't even want to think about it. Because the fear that I've got is we go through one of these phases again, and I've said it before over the years, where it's managed decline. You can still win through a decline, but they'll reduce the wages of the staff, they'll reduce the wage bill, they'll reduce the playing squad size. They've done that already. So they've done managed decline throughout the Ronnie Dyler years. They managed to reduce the wage bill under Ronnie, but keep it ticking along. And all Celtic want to do, and all their main focus is winning the league, staying dominant in Scottish football. Brendan Rodgers got lucky, let's say, having this new format in the Champions League and automatically qualifying. He got lucky, but we didn't ride the luck enough in matches. And I think if we had qualified in the top 8 position, which was within our grasp in the Champions League, was way within our grasp. I think if we'd done that, they may turn around and say, right, we'll back you. But they sold Kyogo in the fucking next window and didn't replace him. You have to think the way that the board are acting. We sold our main strike. And don't give me this pish, but we've got Dyson and we brought in Jota. We didn't buy a striker. Wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up and smell the coffee. We didn't replace. And we were so close to taking Munich over the edge. Yeah, but it's been so close. But could you imagine if we had kept Kyogo? Right, there's a question. If we had kept Kyogo, no, he left. So if we had kept Kyogo, I mean, he left the day after the Aston Villa game. If we had managed to keep Kyogo, could we have beaten the Germans? It's not much to ask Celtic to win the Champions League. Is it too much to ask for Celtic to win the Champions League in their lifetimes? Depends on what age you are. They've already won it, and there's quite a few on this channel that have witnessed that. So Jason Lee, we've already done it, but can we do it again? The reality is, I don't think so. You have to get really lucky, and you have to get a manager that that can be tactically astute at the top level, and that is not afraid of the board. He can work within the limitations of Celtic, but he can get the players in that he wants at the right time, and that seems to be the problem with Celtic. I don't want to be negative today because we've won the league. We're going home for the first time, but I do have a genuine fear over this summer. It's a real genuine fear going into this summer transfer window, because it is the last year of Brendan Rodgers' contract. And we can all turn around and say, but he'll sign a new one and he'll do this. He doesn't have to sign a new contract. He could stick to his word. And if you've always got to analyse, Brendan Rodgers is very clever. He gives little bits of snippets of information away throughout the season. And when you analyse, people say, you're over-analysing it, but when you analyse what he says, even go back to last summer, he told you, not in as many words, but Brendan Rodgers told you what the problem is at Celtic. And it's Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay for holding the purse strings too tight and not acting quick enough. Now, there's people said that Michael Nicholson is not the best communicator at meetings and stuff, and he sits quite quiet. And it's like, if this is the kind of guy that we're going into negotiations with, and it's been proven, the lackadaisical approach to transfers, waiting too long. That gives me the fear for this summer. Why would you then invest 20, 30 million with Brendan Rodgers if he's going to leave at the end of the next season? Now, people will say, well, we keep the same momentum because we've got the same backroom staff. Oh, yeah. That's all fine. But anyway, Brendan does have a lot of options. Plenty of teams, bigger leagues would want him, says Jason Lee. I think that if still no word from the football doctor, does the guy exist? I don't think that he was ever going to be someone that would make any kind of... He's social media shy, and he's not one for giving statements and stuff, and he doesn't have to because of his job at Celtic. I mean, he's the one that just sits with Brendan and looks at potential players to come in. If Brendan and him do not bring in a certain type of talent this year, after the end of the summer, questions will be asked. Don't know what was the point in bringing this football doctor in. He was meant to be a transfer guru for Celtic and everything, and Brendan Rodgers said that it was the best thing to happen to Celtic. It gives him a little someone that's on his side when he goes to the board. That tells you as well. When Brendan said that, it gives somebody on his side when he goes to the board. That means they're not sitting like this, the board and Brendan, they're sitting like this. It's a fact. It's a marriage made in hell, as far as some of the board members are concerned a bit. You've got to remember, it was Dermot Desmond that brought Brendan Rodgers back. Not Michael Nichols, not Lawwell. Could you imagine Lawwell picking up the phone to Brendan? It's me, Peter. Fuck off. What you want, you big fucking prick? Hangs up. But it wasn't. It was Dermot that phoned him. And Dermot phoned him and said, Brendan, how are you doing? Fucking brilliant, Dermot. I'm taking a year off and I'm fucking living in my fucking holiday home in Spain on this beautiful island of fucking Mallorca. What you wanting? Well, the thingy just left and we're in a bit of a sticky spot here, and would you come back as manager? Fucking Jesus, man. That's how that conversation went. But anyway, he's been back and he's done absolutely fantastic over the last couple of years, but this summer does give me the fear. I think Brendan knows the grass isn't always greener. I think he did have unfinished business. At Celtic. And was that unfinished business to take us to the later stages of the Champions League? Take us to the last 16 spot? Get us qualified for the next round? If that was it, if that was the itch on his scratch, he's got rid of it. Why does he need to stay at Celtic? Why does he need to extend his contract? That's all I'm saying. You've got to think about it. You can't just all stick with the narrative and say, yeah, fucking Brendan's a Celtic man, he's going to stay here. You have to look at the possibility. You have to look at the possibility, on the other hand, that he might say, I've done everything that I can at Celtic. This is the way that managers think. It's like, can we go one better? We won the treble, right? If we win the treble this year, we've won the treble, and we've got this close to the last 16 in the Champions League. How can you get any better than that? How can you improve on that as a manager? If next year we only win the double and he doesn't get to the last 16 of Europe, it'll be seen as a bad season. That's all I'm saying. And at that point, Brendan will not sign a new contract, says Paul Baird. Modern football is so mercenary. I don't think it's so mercenary. Why would Kuhn as a plaster below his eye? He had stitches, Gus. He jumped up for a header and went poof, and he had 5 stitches in his eye. That's what Brendan Rodgers says. I really can't see him signing an extension. The window will make his mind up for him, in my opinion. Yep, Anglo Inertia. I'm glad that some people are thinking like me. The treble's not won yet, and let's not be complacent. No, we're not being complacent. I did say at the beginning of the video, Aberdeen have had a strange season, and there's no more motivation than a 6-0 beating and what it caused, the harm that it caused Aberdeen. There's no bigger revenge for Aberdeen than to go, Aberdeen aren't in the papers going, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They're just working away and trying to secure third spot. if it was Rangers that were playing in Aberdeen in the final, Rangers would be like, oh, we're going to win the cup, we're going to win the cup, and all the rest of it, but it's not. So yeah. Come on, Paul, be the one that got the good thing. Greg Taylor left, so leave Brendan alone. Says Stephen Johnson to Paul. Yeah, he got his way. Greg Taylor's leaving. Paul's went, it's back to fucking hating Brendan again, that he's always done. But anyway, let me see if there's any new. Sinisalo or Schmeichel, the dilemma that Celtic have today. It is a bit of a dilemma, isn't it? I'm of the thinking that Sinisalo should play. Today. A song for today. If we win another European title, my head will explode with joy. I think if we've got any chance of winning a European title, it would be the Europa. I mean, look how Ange's had a completely shit season with Arsenal in the league, but he's managed to get them into a Europa Cup final. So maybe he knows his level. Sinisalo deserves to keep his place, says AR. Yes, I think so. I think Sinisalo totally deserves to keep his place. He's been a fantastic keeper for us. And it was interesting, obviously, the conversation yesterday with Brendan Rodgers, saying that up until that point, until Kasper Schmeichel got injured, the talk was within the backroom staff is, do we put Sinisalo out on loan for a season now that Kasper Schmeichel was signed that extension? And this is why we were linked with Aberdeen goalkeeper. We put him out on loan. We bring the young boy back to Celtic, and then we bring the young boy back to Celtic, and he's the number 2 for the season. And then Sinisalo comes back. But I think, Sinisalo definitely deserves to keep his place. Gus says, okay, Baz, I thought Callum had punched him and called him a pussy for not being fit for the derby. I don't think Callum's that kind of aggressive. I don't think he's that kind of aggressive at all. Anyway, right, that's me done and dusted for this morning. I will be back an hour and a half before the game today. I don't know when I'm going to take my brother to watch the football. I need to go somewhere. Let me just see this. And then we'll get all nice and excited for the game today. Ralston's going to score today, says Jason Lee. Ralston's going to score. It wouldn't surprise me. The league is in the bag. Maybe start Johnny Kenny and some of the other boys. Yep. I think there's going to be big changes. I've got a funny feeling that Johnny Kenny could start the game today. He deserves some game time. He does deserve some game time, because we're going to go. I mean, there's all the talk about bringing in another striker and stuff. You know, he needs to show his worth. He does need to show his worth. But either way, we're still going to have to bring in a striker this summer. So on that note, I'll see you in a couple of hours. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around.